Berkham, and the track here is Sylosis by the Skylands. It's probably one of the most underrated Sylosis tracks there is, other than some of the earlier stuff. But as for an instrumental, this, as far as I know, is the only one. It's actually pretty insane. There's quite a few things going on in this, but it also just has this vibe to it. It's like beautiful and epic, and yeah, it just really gives you that vibe whenever you listen to it. And it goes into this like epic guitar bit after the clean guitars. And it's got more of that after, and then it goes into like a sort of, not necessarily a solo, but a bridge, I would call it. There's also like arpeggios and stuff, and it's just fascinating. It's just really well composed, and then after that I think there is a solo, if I'm not mistaken, without hearing it again. I did just listen to it, but I've forgotten. But yeah, the solo is really good. Probably one of my favourite solos. Just very epic and emotional. And it goes back into the sort of main riff as well. Yeah, it's just an amazing track. Seriously, if you haven't listened to Sylosis before, why not? Because they're pretty amazing as a metal band. Josh Middleton's obviously been the sort of mastermind behind it all. Some really interesting riffs and stuff. Yeah, it always fascinates me looking back on this. Just so many great things about the older Sylosis, great things about new Sylosis as well. More modern tracks. Either way, yeah, I just love this track. I've listened to it so many times now. And yeah, I ain't really got anything else to say, so let's move on. This is something that annoyed me, that is actually really tone deaf. Like, fuck me, I don't think I've ever heard something so tone deaf from this dickhead. So, Nigel Farage made a tweet recently, apparently, about the separation between the UK, and that is, well, the divide rather, and that is apparently between the working class, the people who work, and the people who don't work. What a fucking tone deaf statement. He says his party supports the people who work, but it doesn't. That's the thing, because the manifesto obviously speaks of something different from what I've heard anyway. And to me it just seems very fallacious and doesn't actually do anything. And like I've mentioned before, it just all seems like bullshit. There isn't really anything there. And where it worries me a lot is that this is probably going to draw in people to obviously become like a reform voter, but also potentially just tear people apart, because the reality is this party is not for the working rights, it's not for the human rights. So it's already a failure of a system, just based on that. And on top of this, because it's calling out specifically that, in this tweet I think of people on benefits, was it? I could be wrong actually, it might not be that. But he has called out people on benefits before, and even doubled down on people who don't work because of special educational needs, and people who go to school. Like, again, with special educational needs, the same, we need to get rid of departments like that to help school spending, which is just fucking brain dead. This is what I mean. Like, politicians lie all the fucking time, and this is no different. And the fact people are not even recognising it is really funny to me, because they're going to be fucked over by this more than anyone else. So, yeah, like, what are we supposed to fucking do at this point? It's just a really stupid situation, which I just cannot wrap my head around. It's all so dumb. I genuinely cannot wrap my head around why people are like this, because it is just a mystery. It genuinely doesn't make any sense. The world is going to shit, and we desperately need people to wake up, and in this situation, if people were to look at this tweet and say, I'm going reform today, you're going to fucking destroy the world, you idiot. It's going to stop any climate policies, which we need, by the way. It's going to stop any workers' rights, which we need, by the way. It's going to stop a lot of things that are absolutely necessary. And this is where I think it is really dangerous, where it's going to cause the most damage. Because this party is dangerous. It is going to cause us many problems. And we're not going to be able to come back from them, possibly. But also, let's not forget, Reform and Farage are pretty big Trump supporters, so you're on the side of paedophiles and rapists, even by virtue of that, not just because the voters are paedophiles and rapists, which they are, by the way. So again, they're not actually protecting anyone in this case, like they keep saying they do, but they're not. There is no such thing as protecting someone with a party that seeks to remove their rights. So again, it's just absolute fucking nonsense. What do I even say here? I don't really have anything to say. Because it's not only shocking, it's just annoying to see. This is really a stupid situation, and if you can't see through the lies, then sadly you deserve what's coming to you. It's that fucking bad. I'm someone with special educational needs, technically speaking. Grew up with learning delays and still have them to an extent. It causes me to really get delayed on learning stuff. So yeah, again, if you can't see this, then you pretty much deserve it. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. So I guess with the recent thing, obviously, about Final Fantasy XIV appearing on Nintendo Switch 2, and also the subscription being a bit shit, I had wondered if there's any point in getting it, because I do have plans to get a Switch 2 at some point, because again, my mental health has really taken a toll, and in this day and age, you never know what's going to happen around the corner. So the more gaming devices I have, especially battery ones, the better, as you never really know what will happen. And I think it's really important to have solutions to these problems. Also, that's weird, the reflection on there. Sorry. It's showing my arse at the top, but what the fuck? Okay, that's a thing. Anyway, I just find it a bit annoying, obviously, with subscription, but I also just want a way to play the game remotely without having the faff of the Steam Deck, because I was considering a Steam Deck. But the problem is, Nintendo games are quite appealing as they are, which is unfortunate, because even though I don't really want to support them, they are sadly one of the better games out there, both in terms of mental health, difficulty probably, and even just content. Like, they are literally better, so the Steam Deck in that case becomes less worth it, and it really sucks. I wish there was a solution to that, but that seems to be the reality we have here. As I said, it's really unfortunate, because I wish it could be a different way. So I don't really know what to do in this situation, because it doesn't seem very obvious what can be done. So it's a bit sort of confusing in that aspect. Like, how the hell do we even address this to begin with? As far as I know, there ain't really many ways, and it's quite unfortunate for that reason. But I don't know, like, there isn't really much to do in Final Fantasy XIV anymore, I will say, because I've pretty much done a lot of the things I want to. If I go through my to-do list now, I'll go through it now quickly. More mounts. Gold Source is pretty much done, except for minions, triple dragon cards, and emotes, but I'll do them over time. Also save up for the Regalia and anything new they add. Might get some other mounts from different places of varying criterion, 1, 2 tank achievement mounts, possibly M12s, which is a very maybe, and PvP ones, and then I'll get the Pinky mount from the market board at some point, which I can earn with obviously Face doing the bicolor gemstone grind and selling each voucher for a certain amount of gil. That'll get me there, and then I've also got Wondrous Tales, but that'll take quite a while, I think. So it's kind of like, I'm not really sure. So that kind of sucks, but oh well. Yeah, what else is there? I'm trying to think. But that's the thing. Like, does it justify the subscription? Because I'm not going to do these things on there. I'm going to do it on my PC. Like, fuck that. I'm definitely doing it on my PC to grind most of these things. Face, maybe I can do, but I'm really unsure about it. And especially with 8.0 in like, what? Wait a minute. 8.0 is in 8 months' time. Fucking hell, it's quite long. I didn't realise how long that was. See, I've got quite a bit of time to actually think about this. But even then, I'm really looking forward to the evolved mode, because I think that has some great benefits if it's done right. So that's why I'm genuinely considering it as an option. Even with the cost and the 50% off, not bad, but it's sad reality, but I think that kind of has to be done. And also they want their cut at Nintendo, which kind of sucks as well. Like, we don't even know how much it's going to be, I don't think, so yeah, it's a bit strange. So it seems like really the idea with, obviously, Square Enix here is that they just don't want to charge current players for, obviously, the bigger price tag. It just seems to be the obvious thing. You're just paying Nintendo extra, which again really sucks. And then there's also the situation where in the future, maybe, which kind of sucks as well, when I do get a Nintendo Switch 2, I might have to contend with having to get their online membership, which fucking sucks, other than obviously the games you can get with it. But the memberships just never really made sense to me. It never made sense on other platforms either. I remember Xbox Gold back in the day and 360. That always fucking sucked. And ironically, isn't it like one of the only platforms that doesn't have it now? Could be wrong about that. But shit like that makes things suck ass. It's just terrible. So I don't know, but it's something I'm considering, and I'm curious to know what people have to say on this. Also, what the hell? Why does the Pokemon Channel Best of Liko Season 2, the text is the trans flag? Huh? Is that an oversight, or is that on purpose? Like, if Liko was trans, that'd be fucking awesome. I don't know. Anyway, that's a different topic, but anyway, let's move on. So, I've got some weird ass speculation about, well, the extra difficulty in the raids for 8.0, and this actually come about because of an idea. Because I was thinking that it's such a bizarre choice to make, to basically allow for players to have the option to do a middle difficulty. And whatever that implies, it can only mean good things, in my opinion. But what's so strange to me is it also opens up avenues for more accessibility, other than the fact it's a difficulty thing. It probably enables accessibility in a way where you can possibly even get the rewards of the next tier, which is Savage. But obviously with not as much effort or whatever, not as much experience, it depends really. Also, I don't think Savage is difficult, it just really is a matter of learning the mechanics and whatever the fight has to offer, but that's just my experience on Unsynced, so I could be wrong about that. But it does make me curious, does that mean that there's a possibility where there is actually a thing where you can, well, obviously, get these mounts? Like, it makes me really curious about it, because it seems like such a good idea to have, just by virtue of it existing, and Also, it teaching you the mechanics is quite crucial. There's no doubt going to have great benefits for every single player involved in that. So again, I see primarily only benefits from this. So it could only mean good things, but I could be wrong. It really depends. I'm just wondering what this could imply. It does make me really curious, so yeah, I don't really know. It is hard to say. So does the extra difficulty mean that we can get different rewards, or even just the same rewards as Savage, but with more effort? So maybe it's like a totem system. In that case, it would probably be better to do, well, the other way around, but to do Savage instead of, obviously, this difficulty, whatever you call it, extreme, people I've seen calling it. But yeah, like, honestly, I'm not opposed to the idea. I still think this is something for a lot of potential. So yeah, I don't know what to add. Anyway, I better move on. I've got things to do again. So today I went to visit some animals and I felt like sharing this because it's kind of interesting, and also they'll be very vague about the details. Because obviously I don't want to get in trouble, obviously be specific about things, but yeah, I'm specifically going over away from some of these topics, but I basically met some, grown up animals and some young animals too, and obviously some babies. Because, yeah, they're fucking adorable, and to be clear, this isn't a zoo. And again, I can't be specific about what it is, but either way, it's just really taught me a lot of things about myself and how, strangely enough, my mental health really does impact these areas, even when we don't think they can. They do impact it a lot, it seems, because I'm so afraid of getting ill from an animal or having some sort of bacteria, obviously, but also just my OCD. It's like sometimes I get afraid to touch animals or them touch me, and it's just so weird. I've even had this with dogs, so it's not specifically about these animals I met. It happens with dogs, it happens with cats, and I actually met a cat the other day, a fucking naked cat. Hairless, literally. First time I've ever seen one. So I felt quite blessed, and the cat took a liking to me. So I took a liking to her, I think. Yeah, very sweet. But I love animals, but at the same time there's also a part of me, it's like, actually, animals and wildlife and stuff are actually kind of scary. And the other thing with animals is I tend to have a sort of fear of being around them in a way. It doesn't really stem from trauma around dogs, for example, because I have had trauma from dogs. I've been bitten, I've been attacked or attempted attacks before. But it's different when it comes to, obviously, non-carnivorous animals, at least carnivorous as they come, in a way. And this really taught me that I do have limitations with animals no matter the size. It doesn't matter how big or small they are, I just do have a limitation. And it does suck, as I said, but at the same time it's also kind of a blessing. I could be wrong. But the baby animals I met were typically fluffy. They are fluffy. That's I see one of the greatest things about them, on top of obviously being cute and small. And again, that taught me that I'm just really vulnerable, as it turns out. I ain't got much chance of being, being around animals, and always sort of had a dream of potentially volunteering for an animal sanctuary, free of charge, obviously. I wouldn't want to be paid for that. It's just doing my best for that sort of thing. But at the same time, I realised when I met animals for the first time bigger than me, to be clear, literally my size, I'm just like, God, I cannot do this. So it's like, oof. What do I do? It's a very strange scenario, I think, and it does worry me a lot. It's really difficult to sort of tackle that, and yeah, it makes me sad as well. Because I do want to be in a situation where I naturally get to interact with animals and be closer to them. So, think of like foxes, obviously. I fucking love to be around foxes if there is the opportunity. I wouldn't mind being around like rabbits or baby goats or whatever. There's so many different animals that I probably wouldn't mind being around because I've just grown to love them. Even pigs, for example. Pigs look really fun to be around. But unfortunately, the way the world is and stuff, and also like people's perception, it's not really easy to do that. And people think, oh, I'm just a coward. No, today, and I'll talk about this animal. It's about 7, 8 feet tall. Come running towards me. I didn't panic or anything. I just stood there, stood my ground, and nothing happened. So no, you can't call me a fucking coward, and I imagine the most cowardly people are probably saying that. So it's really ironic. No, essentially don't fuck with me. Both the animals and you. But otherwise, it did teach me that also I'm not as scared of them as I thought. Because the fact that I was being ran at by a fucking 7-foot animal, and 8 foot obviously neck extended and stuff, it's very different. And I think that's important to put a highlight on because obviously, yeah, I think we have our limitations, as I keep saying. It's literally what I mean by this. Is an entire limitation of just the mind and the body. Yeah, we can only do what we can do, as one my housemate put it. But that literally is it. I can stroke animals, I can potentially hold some, but I'm also a bit worried about that, especially with my OCD and my hair and stuff, and I can smell things quite sensitively, so it's not great. Yeah, I'm sensitive to smells as well. That's another big thing that's stopping me. I can't even stand manure, so that gives you an insight into that hell. Because yeah, I've smelled too much manure in my lifetime. Might have caused me a damaged brain. So you never know. But yeah, honestly, I don't know what to think. It's just so hard to sort of address that, I think. So yeah, I don't know what to add, to be honest. But I do think this is an interesting topic to sort of bring up. It leads to some very interesting places, obviously. As I said, I'm not a massive... Well, I'm an animal lover, but I'm not an animal sort of super fan, I guess. Like, I think there's a difference. I'm not so in love with animals that I can just say that, oh yeah, I love this, these and that. It's mainly just because of that wild aspect. It's like I'm sort of in a grey area with a lot of those cases where there's like animal suffering and stuff. It's fucking horrific. I genuinely don't understand how certain animals don't collapse under the stress of that. Imagine some probably do, and we just never hear about it, which is also fucking terrifying. Jesus Christ, it is dark as hell. To even think about it, it's not even worth thinking about. So just take my word for it. So yeah, like what else is there? Don't really have anything else to add here, to be honest. Pretty much covered everything. I suppose there's something else. I guess the other thing is, like, if I'm dealing with animals, I obviously don't really want to deal with handling meat and stuff, because that's just fucking gross, and it's also unnecessary based on the evidence we have today, because people seem to think, oh, well, these animals are carnivores because they have teeth. But no, that's not how it works. They do have, obviously, carnivore traits, but they have omnivorous traits too, so they can adapt. and see consume herbivorous food, which is a weird conception. I haven't really talked about this in a while, and my knowledge isn't exactly the best. There's better people to ask about this. But what I've seen from those people, and what I've heard, is that it's actually healthier to feed most carnivores a herbivorous diet, given that it's properly supplemented with nutrients. So yeah, like cats apparently can, but you need to keep track of the taurine and stuff. And there's probably other things too. It's really simplifying it, but also it's like better for the world. And it's probably even better for the cat as well, because I've heard they do live longer. There's apparently a study about that. Apparently animals who adapt to a herbivorous diet from meat just tend to be healthier and live longer, which is quite eye-opening, really. This is even coming from a skeptic like me. I've generally been a bit skeptical about the whole, like, not vegan food, but, you know, vegetables and plants for animals sort of thing, that sort of topic. See, a lot of people say stupid shit about that, saying, obviously, you can't feed animals that, because it's not healthy for them, but they're not even fucking nutritionists, so what the fuck are you even saying? It's just so brain dead. I'm not even a nutritionist. I've said don't take it at face value. You should at least do research on this to understand the point, understand why it's important. So yeah, it's extremely disappointing with this sort of shit, to be honest. It really feels like it shouldn't be an issue, but it is, because, well, it makes it an issue. Anyway, let's move on. Something quick to talk about. But I'm wondering, what the hell do we do? Like, what do we do with the current situation around hardware? Because as it currently stands, it's not a good situation, because they're currently in bed with the US president, which isn't a good sign at all. Both AMD and Nvidia are doing this, so it's not good. And I'm wondering, are Intel doing that? Are they the lesser evil in this situation? Some crazy fucking twist of events? Is my next GPU going to be an Intel Arc or something? I really don't know what to do about this, because it's such a bizarre thing. It just... I don't know. Because I don't really want to support someone who's fucking going to support the US president of all things. That's really fucking tone deaf, like extremely so. To have ignored everything going on around the world. It's going to be damaging to your brand, so you're just complete fucking idiots. So of course I want to support the one that isn't doing that, if they do exist. And even then, I'd probably have to support the lesser evil if I had no choice. When I say support, I'd unwittingly buy something from them. So say Nvidia was donating less than... Did I say Nvidia or AMD? I think I said AMD, maybe. I don't know, but say AMD are donating less than Nvidia, I'd go AMD. And if it's the other way around, I'd go Nvidia. And I'd also pair that up with, obviously, hardware that's less in bed with the government. So say Samsung was suddenly in bed with them too, I'd then get a different device for that instead. So it's probably the storage first, so go with like Crucial or Kingston, assuming they're not doing the same thing, but again going down that list, the least investment is probably the best. Even with the challenges, I think it's better overall. So yeah, that's the current affairs. We're out with this stupid garbage. It's all the US president's fault, obviously. Also Trump. And I won't talk about this alleged shooting that took place again. There's another third assassination attempt, apparently. Didn't even know there's a second one, but oh well. But I'm just fed up of hearing this shit. But it's just so tiring. It's not even surprising at this point. And, you know, we're just waiting for him to roll over, essentially, and never come back. That's it. So, yeah, anyway, Let's move on. Alright, I've got another topic, but which one is it going to be? Because I've got 3 written down. Oh, that's just 1. No, 2. Okay, what do we do? Let's do a response. I think it's going to be a quick one. So, I saw a show recently about this person speaking about, I'll say some very truthful things about these days, but also it's just, the conclusion isn't very good. It's very flawed, and it's basically saying, get rid of technology. It's pretty much dumbed down to that, and frankly this is extremely stupid. It's not a good solution to the problem, if you've got a thought about it to begin with. We can't remove it because it's now in our systems everywhere. It's used for critical infrastructure, it's used for very serious things, obviously crime and medical, and it's also used for emergencies, so that's also a thing. We also use it to potentially even like track people or pets, so it really varies. And there's a reason why it exists for that reason, because it helps us. Whereas the technology we have now, obviously where it's more accessible, you know, speaking like 2000s were better for technology than now, it's also gone out of hand, and now it's like a completely greed-based thing, and because people don't understand the balance of obviously life and its woes, we don't actually have any sort of stability anymore. Because, you know, if you look back in like the 2000s where people were objectively happier, you could even see that technology wasn't weighing them down or anything, and there wasn't such a thing as a heavy weight or burden when using this stuff. And even with social media, it wasn't that bad. So this response actually doesn't work, and even if we do try to change that to make it more like the 2000s, we'll still struggle because everything now uses different technology and infrastructure that's also up to date. Well, except for some infrastructure, but it depends on the place and how stupid they are. But literally, we actually can't get away from it. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. So, the reality is, I suppose, we can't do anything about it. And what we have to do instead is educate people and make them aware. When we're speaking about information technology in schools, we should be teaching about also the way to get away from these things that are very much going to impact us. Because most kids will know how to use a phone now, and a computer for that fucking matter. And whether school curriculums will realise that is another issue. If they don't, they're fucking stupid. But if you look at what kids understand about technology today, it's very different to what they understood when I was a kid. I was speaking, how many years ago? 13 years ago. Obviously I left school in 2013. So everything's really different. So we need to keep it up to date and also have a focus on mental health whenever we get into these subjects. So when it's science, we can talk about mental health specifically in certain areas instead of, by what I learned, I just think it's like magnets and chemical reactions. Although chemical reactions are kind of useful to know, but I just don't know anything now. It's pretty much forgotten. But knowing about mental health and how to deal with it is pretty important. So we do need that. We do need a course on how to help with this. So, yeah. But I guess the other thing is, I remember if did I write something? No, I don't think I have anything else actually. But yeah, like the world is quite worrying. It's getting worse and worse the more we go on. And again, this is just due to the fact that technology is evolving, but also our living standards are decreasing. So whilst we have all these nice things, which aren't inherently bad themselves, we don't have the things that we need to survive. So people are having food insecurity, people are struggling to obviously work, or even just get into work to begin with. So you've got all these sort of things backfiring, and it's not to do with technology, it's to do with, once again, billionaires and greed. It always comes back to that for some fucking reason. And yeah, people just choose to ignore this, which I find really silly. It is literally the biggest problem today. And every day that I go onto Blue Sky, or I used to go onto Mastodon, but not so much, I don't really use it anymore. But every day I go onto Blue Sky, it's like there's always a fucking update, and the algorithm doesn't help, which I also mentioned in the video. But it's so fucking weird. So I don't really know. Like, it's such a difficult topic to address. And yeah, like, what do I even say? Can't think. Like, it's pretty much all there is. Technology's not going away. We need better education, and yeah. I don't know if there's really much else to mention, or even much point in mentioning it. Yeah, so I think that's about it. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic, which is not as positive, but it's going to be something. Yeah, so next one. Basically, people have attempted to get me to socialise more, and it doesn't work almost ever. Because I try many things myself, and other people have tried things, and it just doesn't work. I've tried therapy, I've tried a lot of different things, and obviously I got diagnosed with what's the other type of autism? PDD. So for some reason it's got the D instead of the A. But that's basically what describes my autism and the way I've been unable to talk and stuff. But I cannot override that, no matter what. I was a bit more talkative when I was a child, but again, that's when I was a child. I didn't have much going on in my head, let alone the world. So it didn't really give in as much pressure as it would have. But as an adult, it's now essentially anything I could say can just piss people off. Yeah, even as a child, I dealt with stresses like that because of my speech impairment. I've had punishments because I've been, I don't know, like misheard, misinterpreted, and I haven't even done anything wrong. I say things properly and I get punished for it, which also doesn't help the speech stuff anyway. But this really annoys me, the fact that people want to get me into socialising. But the reason I sort of gave up on it is because I can't really talk to people. It's not something I can do anymore. I've tried it on and off for a while, and it's just a struggle. You know, even like the most recent thing I could have done it on was probably Final Fantasy XIV, Odyssey and Arsenal, because we had a great guide in that, and it's basically a 50-something man raid, which is insane. And we also killed the bosses in seconds, but the guards took us through it, and we had the option to speak, I reckon, but yeah, I didn't really feel like speaking, to be honest. It felt awkward, and I don't feel like speaking even now, even to people I do trust. And I've tried it on and off. I've even called friends before and attempted to have conversations, and guess what? It just doesn't work out. Even one of my closer friends online, you know, someone who had some interesting ton of events about a year or two ago. I won't say what they are, but we're pretty close in a way. I haven't spoken in a while because it's just the nature of me. I just don't really speak often. But I try communicating with them a lot, and it just doesn't work out in the end. I don't know exactly what it is, but I just cannot do it, no matter what. Forcing myself to do these things does nothing, and that's the sad reality of it. I just don't know what to do. It seems nearly impossible to even address this. So I would want to communicate more, it's just not a possibility. There's literally no such thing, and there's no point either. So, what do I even do? It's generally the question here. I just don't seem to have an easy way through this. And I'm again punished for it. I can't make friends, I can't communicate as easy as I want to, I can't even express feelings, that's the other thing. I've been in situations where I just get there, I literally remember actually going somewhere to socialise and make friends, and what I did for the 2 hours there was just sit down and feel bad, feel like I couldn't do anything, and the place didn't help with the fact it kind of infantilised people, didn't even serve bloody zero alcohol, which is even strange. That's back when I was drinking anyway. But it's just so weird. I don't really understand why people even want me to, again, go into this to communicate when I very much can't. It's just simply no, because there is no such thing, there is no way where I can do that. And again, it really sucks. There's part of me that wishes I could, but I cannot. It's the harsh reality of this, and I don't know any other way to sort of say it, ways that people might understand. I guess just no means no. It's probably the best way to say it. And literally, that's all it comes down to in the end. There's no hope for this. There's no cure for it as well. I don't think so anyway. Yeah, I tried alcohol for a while, and even though it's unhealthy as fuck, the social aspect it did ease a bit, but it wasn't obviously a great solution because obviously it's unhealthy. So why bother? It didn't really work. So that there went that idea. Just tried even like special interests and just tried many different things, and over the years it just gets tiring. It adds to my burnout, and then I just can't be bothered. Just feels like there's no point, so I don't do it anymore, and that's pretty much the reason why. Other than just trauma and worries in my head constantly, which adds to that issue. So again, simply adds to the problems and rather than takes away. Ideally, you would be having things taken away by doing this stuff. So yeah, I'm not sure what to add. Like, pretty much touched on everything I can with this very topic. Yeah, so anyway, I better move on. I'm just busy doing stuff, so I'm once again saying that we need to just fucking stop. Yeah, animal products. I'm just fed up of seeing this all over the place. Yeah, big thing for me was seeing that stupid collab from Final Fantasy XIV with Jollibee, which by the way has 0 vegan or vegetarian options. So it is not even worth fucking defending it. There's nothing. So there's no like credit, that's what I mean. Can't really defend it anyway, even if it had those. But it's just so disappointing when now we've got another Jerry Carbstrong investigation going into a kosher slaughterhouse and seemingly exposing some of the most horrific abuse that's probably ever been filmed. And this is why I say, by the way, that I've seen humans die less painful deaths in their most painful moments than I've seen animals. Because animals go through much fucking worse. It is a dystopian hellhole. It's literally why I say this. It's not made up, it's real. And admittedly I haven't seen the uncensored footage, I could just go and look at it quick, but it's about the 15-minute mark I believe, but they're like slaughtering these cows I think, and there's some still alive. It's just absolutely nuts to me. There's like uncensored bits of the The footage, okay. That's what it is. So, I'm like, I'll go through it, but fucking hell. If I don't have a bad sleep tonight, I'll watch it when I can. Do a sort of live reaction, jump through bits. So in a second, but just to quickly lay out something. I think if you're afraid to watch it, you're obviously just being cowardly. That means you're quite weak as a human being, admittedly, if you can understand it or even empathise with what you might see or have seen before. Fair enough. Like, I don't think that's cowardly. You can actually at least see the problem. But it's when you don't change it also becomes an issue. Because the obvious way to deal with these sort of things is not contribute to these fucking things. They exist because of supply and demand. So yeah, it's always your fault in the end if you contribute to this. So let's go into the clips. So do like double prodding of the cows. The cow doesn't like it. Screaming. Yeah, totally not abusive. Just fucking prodding the cow constantly. Just stupid. And what the hell is that machine that raises up and down? Fuck. That's okay. I'm an idiot. Yeah, just complete blood everywhere. It's just a fucking hellscape. There's a slaughterhouse. Some hanging in full view, so they see what's happening. So yeah, this is fucking torture as well. As I said, humans go through much, like, I would say better, but it's like they're not as bad as this. Like to see the fucking situation, the cow's like completely panicking, not wanting to be in there. Like it just makes sense that this is like a fucking hellscape. Yeah, one trying to escape. It's like a Jersey cow. Just horrific. So, yeah. What's going on there? Yeah, it's like locked in. So they use a method to lock them in, to slaughter them easy, which is, yeah, it's fucking horrific. The head's literally caved in. I think there's probably a lot of pressure there because they literally cannot move. You see the bodies moving, but you don't see the head moving. So they're literally crushing their fucking heads at the same time. Again, that's stupidly fucking horrific. But this is stuff you contribute to, and this is like the new sort of machinery. Even though this, as far as I know, didn't exist 5 or even 8 years ago. So it's just ridiculous, and then they just bleed out to death whilst in this thing. It's fucking horrific. And then some cows, again, survive. So there's always that risk. These machines don't always work. It's still fucking conscious in this. But unless it's like stimulus, sometimes there is stimulus that happens. So they respond to obviously nerves. Yeah. Some are obviously conscious. You have it with foster cows and chickens. There's one alive there at 10 minutes for you. Emergency bolted. Again, it's like a hellscape of light. Yeah. Just trying to see what else there is. Not ignoring people. Yeah. Again, it's like a fucking hellscape. That's what these places are. Yeah. Like, again, these things just get worse, and when they're thinking of doing something like, for some reason, training AI to do this, and even getting ways to make it more quote unquote humane, even though no such thing exists when it's murder, is just fucking dystopian. This is exactly why I've argued against this for so long. Why I can't even justify animal products. And as I said, I've put out the goalpost, I've got what I need to actually try and refute it, but I don't, again, see the argument. There's no argument about this that can convince me. It doesn't matter what I see here. It's pretty irrelevant to my moral arguments in its own way. Because it's more important that I get the moral foundation of these things, and again, score the goalpost, than it is seeing this footage, which, yeah, can make probably anyone not consume animal products anymore. But yeah, so yeah, the footage is pretty horrific. There's no surprise there. Yeah, the fact they have a system for trapping their heads in place is just also even more horrific. It's not like in a blinder sort of thing. They very visibly see what's going on before that. They see the other cows being dead and being slaughtered, and they know what's coming, because they've also probably seen blood as well. Let's not forget, animals bleed like we do. You know, when we see blood, it's like, oh my god, what's going on there? Can't have that. It's obviously something to be concerned about, that's the thing. And we also get quite jarred about it as well when we do see it, especially in large quantities. But something like this is probably what's happening with animals as well. So you have to make the connection that no matter what, there's always a situation where animals could be experiencing the same things we do, sometimes exactly the same. Pain, obviously, pleasure, most probably, but also they can experience loss, they can experience emotion. And there's even like depression, there's even, once again I have to bring this up because it's a weird niche thing, but you can find homosexuality in animals, like, yeah, I'm bringing this up during discussion of slaughter, but that gives you a perspective on how they work and how similar we are. Like, it's just nuts to me. I don't understand how people can actually justify this. It's never made any sense. Like, it's even besides the footage. The things besides the footage is what literally convinced me to stay not consuming animal products. That's what's most important there. So, yeah, I don't know what else to add. I'm willing to debate this with people, but at the same time, I've done it so much over the years, I just wonder if people have actually given it thought. Because a lot of the time I've had these debates, nobody's actually thinking about it. They haven't said a single steel man, they haven't done anything to prove their point. They've not even tried to refute other things, so it's just nuts. Like, more often than not, debates end with other paragraphs or just me having to basically call it off because I'm just tired of it. I've already said you have to answer this, otherwise I'm not going to bother listening. And you know, they haven't answered it, so I'm gone. I've won the debate. As far as I know, you literally proved my fucking point. But again, I'm waiting for that goalpost to be scored. I've already made it public. Yeah, it hasn't been fucking shown. So, what do I do? That's just fucking impossible. So, anyway, I think I'm about to move on. So, yeah, go. I don't know if it's the right thing to say or if it's even logical, but I'll mention it. So, I had a thought earlier about just the horrors of war, just everything around it, but also how modernised it's become. And I was wondering, like, why are we even posting footage of soldiers in combat? It's like Ukraine's doing it, but I don't know if anyone else is. And what's making me curious about it is it shows that they're not afraid to, well, not only like stir the pot in some way, but also just show that they're doing the right thing. So some of the footage you see with Ukraine going to Russian, well, not Russian territories, technically places that they've stolen, basically their own land, and you know, they're killing them or they're capturing them. I think that demonstrates the difference between the two sides, and also just very much shows that Ukraine hasn't really got anything to hide. Obviously, they've got big things to hide, but not in terms of like combat or what they're doing that's maybe or maybe not corrupt. So they just attach a few cameras to soldiers, and meanwhile you've got other places, other countries going to war with other countries. Israel versus Palestine, for example, and obviously Israel and US versus Iran. But for some reason, there's no body cam footage. Wonder why that is. Obviously, because they're committing a fucking war crime and breaking international law. So, yeah, where's the footage? That's what I'm wondering. If they're so sure what they're doing is right, where the fuck is the footage? This to me just pleads guilty all over the fucking place. Because this is why journalists have to go into these places and document them upon risk of death. Because this shit happens. There's no actual documentation of it. So anything happens. Like, this is why it's such a massive fucking issue. And this is why places also get away with it to an extent. So just checking that was a spider or so. It was something on my desk, but yeah, it's very concerning. Like, where is the footage if they're so confident? It genuinely doesn't make any sense. I'm trying to figure out where this even is coming from. Because it just doesn't make sense. Again, like where it is, or how it works, or where is the footage? Like, genuinely. Meanwhile, I've seen footage of like Palestinian soldiers whenever they've tried. I've seen one. Don't know obviously the whereabouts, but yeah, I managed to sort of blow up an IDF tank, I think. But, it really shows the difference. Like, obviously the people who are doing the right thing in this story will obviously document it. I think if they have nothing to hide, if they don't have any sort of bad things going on, bad blood or even corruption, then they'll be happy to show it. Even if it is gruesome, again, nature of war. But I don't know. That's why I say that this possibly is the wrong thing to say, but by comparison, I do see a drastic difference when, obviously in a war like Ukraine versus Russia, Ukraine has a lot of body cam footage, and then something like the IDF, where they're supposedly doing the quote-unquote right thing, and yet not allowing it to be documented, like Ukraine is, then, it shows what side they're on. It's also a side of evil and corruption. And I'm someone who's open to having arguments refuted, but again, this isn't showing, this isn't apparent. And it isn't so obvious I can refute it myself, so that's why we're here. So I don't know what to add. Like, what more fucking convincing do you need? Even then, if you're someone who sides with Israel, can you actually watch the footage and listen to the audio of children being blasted apart? Can you fucking handle that? It really begs the question. So yeah, like, what do I even say here? Just nuts to me. Anyway, try to move on from that, because it's quite a heavy topic. So yeah. I'm starting to believe there's such a thing as delusionalism. Fuck, I mentioned that. Delusionalism. Alright. I'm not sure if it exists. Let me look it up quick. Delusionalism. Enough. Tongue-tied delusionalism. Sort of? What the fuck? Don't think that's it. Delusional disorder, I guess. Go look into this. It's a mental disorder in which a person's delusions have no accompanying hallucinations, thought disorder, mood disorder, or significant flattening effect. There's are specific symptoms of psychosis, delusions can be bizarre or non-precise content. Delusions affect false beliefs and involve situations that could occur in real life, such as being held or poisoned. Yeah, pretty much sums it up, but you know, what are the fucking chances of this just being the reason why the world is in such shit at the moment? Honestly, I think it's very high. It's a very high likelihood. And how disappointing is that? Like, it seriously is bad. Like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? This is the world that we're in, where, you know, we got delusionists running the fucking planet. Obviously Trump, Putin, and even Netanyahu. They're doing all this horrible shit to the world, believing that they're doing something righteous, and I really got thinking about this with Israel of all things, because I started to realise something about what they say with how they blame us for Hamas. Although I did cover this like months ago, I pretty much said it there perfectly, but it's basically to do with how they delude themselves into thinking everything can be associated with this thing. Because I saw a thing recently, and I'm going to look at it after, I think, where apparently Keir Starmer was named the most trustworthy leader in Britain, which just feels really fake. Like, what the fuck? That just seems like nonsense. There's no responses. And that concerns me, because where the fuck was I? They delude themselves into thinking these things are so true that it becomes the truth itself, which is obviously a dangerous mindset to have. So, of course, they're going to do things that are just inherently evil and inherently dangerous. So, things are obviously going to shit because of these delusions, in the same way that people are actually believing in things like the immigration problem in the UK, believing in all sorts of conspiracies as well. They want to believe these things are true just either as a cope or just to justify the things they do. But it's just all sorts of sick and twisted shit. And as I said before, if there's anything to hide, well, nothing to hide rather, why the fuck are you hiding it? It generally doesn't make sense. It reminds me of the thing that was mentioned here, which was everyone who supports Palestine in the UK apparently supports Hamas, which I guarantee you nobody is, because it's not about Hamas. We're over that now, because it's really an issue back then more than anything else, rather than, yeah, that's not an issue now. But then you're just pairing a bunch of innocent people who had nothing to do with them with Hamas. I mean, you made your fucking point the moment you started the genocide, but you've perpetuated it, just thinking that they haven't learned that lesson. You targeted children and women of all people to target practice with. That's just inherently fucking evil. Like, what do you even say to that? There's literally the devil there, and before anyone says it, it's not anti-Semitism. People really misunderstand what that is. Anti-Semitism is discrimination against religion. Discrimination against religion requires me to address religious topics. Did I address any? No. There are many in this, and I'll give you an example of what it is. It's criticising like the Jewish belief, for example, about, what was it again? It's left my mind now. About Jesus. Something about that anyway. I wish I could remember what it was, but maybe it's better to just go to like Christianity. It's like saying that people who believe that Jesus existed should be persecuted. But obviously, that's just, it's inherently wrong. Because one, it's someone's belief to. If it's not harming anyone, it doesn't matter. Obviously, third point, don't know if Jesus existed or not, so we never actually can know. So why are you then calling the or rather pulling the anti-Semitism card when there is nothing? Literally zilch. So, yeah, as I said, this sort of thing kind of annoys me, but it is literally a case of being delusional, and it's probably the same with even Keir Starmer, to be honest. Just making all these really bad decisions and stuff. It's just quite obvious that it is. As I said, they just delude themselves into thinking these things, thinking they're true, much like the Hamas thing. Convince yourself every single person is part of Hamas if they support Palestine. Even then, it's like associating people who are anti-war are somehow part of Hamas, because that's literally what a lot of people are. You fucking idiots. I don't know why that's so hard to grasp. It's like the most basic concept and most basic execution as well. Anti-war means against war. Simple. And this is like the same thing. Being against Palestine is also... being against... obviously the genocide of Palestine is what I meant. Is also being anti-war. So is everyone who's anti-war now part of Hamas by your logic? I mean, all solutions just crumble underneath the scope of critical thinking, as it always fucking does anyway. Yeah, you need hard evidence, you need demonstrable evidence for that matter, and you need to thoroughly think it through. Which obviously in this case, in Israel's case, they have not. The same with Trump in the US, has not thought about this at all with Iran, with Venezuela or anything. Literally nothing. And even with these things about another assassination attempt apparently, which I'm not going to address because it's fucking dumb. And honestly, I don't even know what to think. It's just, they're using it again like a framing, but that's a delusion. They frame that around it being the fault of Democrats and leftists. Like, what? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, if it was, you need to provide demonstrable evidence that it is. But even then, if you don't provide it, there is no fucking reason to believe it. In fact, my word is just as important as his, so let me say this. The shooter is not a leftist. Therefore, I'm right. Got you in a checkmate there. That's how delusional they are. Could literally win the argument in seconds. It's not even fucking hard. They realise the flaw in their execution there too. Because they've left themselves open for these problems, left themselves open for the delusions. And yeah, and also there can be external influences for sure. So maybe obviously the thing with Trump and Israel is more to do with creating a place for Trump's golf course, or maybe like a resort or some evil like Epstein place. You never fucking know. It could really be anything for anything at this point. Maybe producing nuclear facilities. But yeah, this is why the world's in such a dangerous spot to begin with. Delusional people not admitting they're delusional, likely corruption underneath it all too. If they want to prove that they're not delusional, then fucking do it. I'm ears. And the same with general population. And when I see people who are anti-immigrants in the UK, prove that your ideas are not just delusion. Because that's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear about what you think about immigrants. I want to hear about what you understand about immigrants. That's far more important. And that's the point we should be discussing. Not what you'd fucking do to them, not how many you'd shoot, how many you'd rape and abduct. We would just practice your paedophilia with. It's nothing fucking about that. It's about what you think is the reason for doing that. There's a source I'm trying to get to it. So, yeah, Delusion is probably one of the most dangerous forces influencing the planet right now. And yeah, everyone's pretty much in danger of it because that's what it's leading us to. Oh well. I've done my best. So if you don't bother to listen, if you don't take advice, well, you can fucking rot in the hole you dug yourself. Because that's what's going to happen. It's going to happen to Israel, it's going to happen to the US, it's going to happen to Russia. And it's probably going to happen to UK as well at some point. So, yeah, that'll be fun. Anyway, I'll move on. Alright, I'm going to fucking talk about it then. Yes, everyone's pretty much heard at this point about the failed assassination attempt. I've already brought it up a few times, I've not discussed it though. But there's so much discourse around this, it is literally a distraction from everything else. Distraction from the Epstein files, distraction from Iran, in Palestine as well, it's taking pressure off Israel, which honestly it shouldn't be, because Israel are fucking war criminals, like all of them, is enough, like the entire country. Pretty much goes without saying, because if you look at those stats, they all support genocide, so they are war criminals. But anyway, about the assassination attempt against Trump, is all suspicious, and I'm not going to put any sort of conclusions out there because I think it's better to just stay on the fence until we have a better idea of what's going on. But a lot of the evidence is convincing enough that I can see how people might actually be on the side of this being staged, and there is a lot of evidence for that, supposedly. You know, the fact that it's so poorly handled in terms of security, but I'd also argue that maybe that was the assassination attempt. Maybe the security just didn't give a fuck. They're just hoping for this to be over, but you never know. But another way that this has been proven potentially to be staged is the amount of people who were supposedly smiling at this ballroom, as in people behind the stage. I'm pretty sure, was it Hegseth was behind the stage smiling? Yeah, I think it was. And just so many of that I don't give a fuck faces as well. But literally nobody was seemingly fazed by the attempt, and they came out like after acting as if nothing happened. So it wasn't like called off or anything. It was just acting like nothing happened. Like a security measure would have been to literally lock down the entire fucking place, stop anything from potentially coming in, obviously surround the area, and literally that'd be the end of it. There'd be no dinner. So it's all sort of fucks up in many different ways. It just makes it look suspicious, and if something like this was actually a real assassination and wasn't just staged, if it was even an assassination, because to be honest, I haven't seen enough images or footage of the assassinator, or whatever you call him, the assassin. Assassinator, that's a fucking term. Sure. But we haven't seen enough of the assassin, so what's even going on here? Like, there's no evidence for even proving their side, so now we're left to believe that it is possibly a conspiracy. It's literally staged, and I can't really blame people for thinking that, because it literally does look that way. And that's the other thing as well, like almost immediately after this happened, like everyone there, or most people, and Trump himself obviously, took to Twitter to say that it's the Democrats' fault. Again. So yeah, once again the blame is being pushed to Democrats, which is fucking absurd. So this obviously isn't a good look, because it's quite obviously staged, and they do genuinely think that we're stupid in that. But as I said, I'm still on the fence overall, but I do think the evidence points to it being staged, because it just seems way too convenient. Everything around this, every issue around it, there's no fucking way it can't be. Like, what do I even say? It's just, it feels like the world is obviously going to shit again. And then we got this really stupid idea of, well, just persecuting Democrats, and I think this is also, and this is my other theory, this is also a way to set up either like a voting rigging or just a way to stop democracy. Yeah, that's literally what the goal was from the beginning. I'm pretty sure it was in the manifesto before Trump even got elected, by the way. He wanted to remove democracy. He wanted to get rid of it. So, are we surprised? No, we shouldn't be, because this was going to happen anyway. And given just the amount of bullshit we're seeing, it's like, yeah, no, I'm not surprised, just bring it on. Just fucking bring it on already. At this point, I'm just not giving a fuck. You know, let MAGA people suffer the consequences, and also we have to, but they have to learn. It might inspire them to fucking do some research next time and be careful with who they pick. Anyone from a mile away could see that this was already bad news for everyone, for even the world. But no, they decided not to listen. Yeah, it's just sickening. So I don't really know what else to add, but that's essentially about it in terms of the assassination attempts. I really don't know if there's anything else. But yeah, it's just delusional as fuck, as usual. There's not really much else that can be done now, I don't think, other than obviously people taking matters into their own hands to address the problems here. And also it requires, you know, Congress and stuff to do, whatever, you know, basically people who run the counties. But yeah, it literally needs proper intervention and possibly even the UN to get involved here. Because like 3 assassinations in what, a span of one term is quite unheard of. It has to be said. Because that can only mean 2 things. 1, you're either terrible enough of a person and disliked enough to have been targeted that many times, or 2, you stage every single one to gain sympathy points and to gain the support of other countries. And no doubt other billionaires. So, what? So what do I mean by that? How would billionaires actually be supportive of him after that? Actually, that's something I didn't realise, but unless they're in on it themselves, maybe they have connections, but no, that just kind of indicates that there's a potential that billionaires might just dislike him as well. It's just interesting. It'd be a blessing if they do. Okay, they don't like him. I don't know anymore. Again, it's just so difficult just being in this world at the moment. So everything feels like it's going to shit, and it feels like there's no solution, no resolution, for that matter. And also just no justice either. Like, fucking hell. There's apparently been a 60-minute interview or something. Someone did. Interviewed Trump and asked him about the Epstein files, about how he was described in it, and he's like, "You really read that from a sick person?" It's like, what? It's in fucking print. Like, oh my god. I've never seen someone so stupid be a political fucking leader. It's just insane to me. It shows how easy it is as well. That's a weird thing, because it sets the expectations so low that scoring a win, even with another Republican bloody president, is really going to set the bar so low that anyone is better. It's so bad. Jesus Christ. It just genuinely doesn't make any sense. And yet this shit isn't even shut down, this shit isn't even overthrown, so I don't understand what's going on. I'm hoping that the 1st of May thing does something, obviously, with the strikes and basically doing nothing all day. Although unfortunately these are a bit vulnerable in some areas, but that's going to be the price, I think. It's going to be the price we have to pay, but enough is enough, really, and people are fed up. And no doubt I'm fed up, and I'm not even living in the US. I just see this shit on the news all day, every day. That's all it's spoken about. For some reason my nose is stuffed, I don't know what's going on there. But also it's like forced me to give a shit about politics because I'm in the situation where I have to give a shit because my life is in danger through these very politics. So something has to be done. Now, if not in the US itself, it has to be done elsewhere as well, too. Like, it has to be done. What would I even fucking say? That's ridiculous, the shit we're going through right now. I just do not understand it. It just makes no sense. But anyway, I think I better gonna move on in a second. But yeah, that's about it. Well, this is deeply concerning, I think. So I had a look, and it turns out that my sleep is actually really bad. It's been bad for the past month or so, and I can't really figure out why that is. So I looked on my Samsung Health app, because that's obviously the one associated with my watch. And over the past month, maybe even like 2 months, because I looked further, I've only ever got a good night's sleep about 4 times per month. Yeah. I think that's a sign of something wrong in my system. Which, I don't know if it's avoidable or what, but given that most of my issues go ignored, I don't think it is. I know some of the nights I've been awake because of toothaches, I know some of the nights I've been awake because of stress or even just like trauma, because believe it or not, it happens. Sometimes I'm just trying to fall asleep and then suddenly I get the intrusive thought about how fucking horrific it is to be in a war. And that scares me. It's just terrible. And even then, the better night's sleep I had was last night, is that right? Oh no, the night before. We got 6 hours 23 minutes, last night 5 hours 24 minutes. Night before 6 hours 3 minutes, which is actually alright. 6 hours again, 5 hours 35. Going backwards obviously 5:34. 5:16, Jesus. But it just gets worse, and there's even one where I got 4 hours sleep. That was the 17th, I believe, yeah. I don't know how the fuck this keeps happening. It's so weird. I genuinely don't understand what I need to do here, because I've done exercise. I keep doing exercise. I've been doing it for the last month. And this isn't doing anything. Like people say online stress, it doesn't. That's a fucking myth. This shit doesn't work. It's just ridiculous. I've even lowered the threshold for sleep to 7 hours, and the closest I ever got was that the 9th of March? Fucking hell. 6 hours 55 minutes, and apparently I was not even fully recovered then. So I don't even know what the threshold is supposed to be exactly to have a good night's sleep, and I don't think I've ever had any in the last few years, to be honest. It's so hard to sort of identify, and I don't know if this is going to mean that I need to change my routine a bit, meaning I need to cut out something to get the rest to work. It's just really fucking frustrating and hard to identify. I just don't know what can be done here. It's so harmful when this shit happens. I just cannot figure out what the deal is. And it does lead to my mental health being a bit worse for wear. I even notice it when I'm gaming, for example, when I'm playing Final Fantasy XIV here. I do say it's a Tuesday, weekly reset. However, I got to do my Unreal trial. This is the thing that's mainly the grind per week, and I'm not able to concentrate. I fuck up on tank, almost cause wipes sometimes, or just panic. So used to the mechanics, I do end up anyway succeeding, even despite the issues. But it's so fucking confusing. I just cannot wrap my head around why I'm getting so many issues here. It generally doesn't make any sense, so I do not know. It is so difficult to address. Again, the thing with the routine I'm thinking of is, what can I eliminate exactly? Like, maybe I stop making original music, or make it as much, because I don't think I'm any good at it, to be honest. So really, it's probably a good reason to stop. Practice guitar can be fun, but maybe eventually I replace practicing guitar with obviously doing that, just doing original music. But there's also the factor that I want to work on other hobbies and stuff, but also it just depends on if, when I stop doing Final Fantasy XIV Tombstone Grids, it just depends on the time I get free. So I'll probably have more time when I get finished with this crap. But it's so confusing. It's just hard to balance it. I might keep things the way they are for the moment. Might even implement a time for writing and a time for Pokemon, because I'll do Pokemon, the physical Pokedex rather. Not sure if I'll do that while watching a TV show. I think that might be a bit overwhelming. So I did consider that, but I've tried browsing and doing stuff like that before whilst watching a TV show, and it's a bit difficult. So I'm not sure. But then there's the other thing where I'll say look at my daily pages and stuff, and I might move that to an earlier point. This way, whenever it comes night time, when it comes to bed, I have an hour to unwind. And another thing I just did before obviously recording this is I basically set my alarm for 7 o'clock now, which is much later than I usually get up. Because I usually get up around 7. 6. Duh. Damn it. I mean, but now it's just going to be an hour later. But my sleep time should be the same. I try to go to sleep at around dead on midnight, although I could potentially move it back a bit to make it a bit easier on my bowels as well, so that I'm having my IBD moment obviously earlier in the morning, which leaves me time to do exercise and stuff. So that might actually be an idea. Be a bit unusual, but it's also like quite far away from eating as well, so if I go to sleep at 11, then my eating time would be obviously like before 6, which is fine. It's about 5 hours. Yeah, I just don't know what to do exactly. It's quite annoying. There has to be some sort of solution, because even though I want to try sleeping pills, apparently you have a higher risk of death with them. Somewhere here somewhere, but even then, it's just like, why bother? I know that you gain immunity to it eventually, much like painkillers. If you take too many of them, you just start to get an immunity to the bloody thing itself, the thing it's supposed to do. Which is not good, because it's like your body creates antibodies or something towards it. Could be wrong about that. Oh my god, is it fucking annoying. That's just unbelievable. I genuinely want this to stop, because it's not making me feel good. I woke up with cold symptoms, or maybe hay fever symptoms this morning. Felt awful, I got a weird throat, I got almost a stuffed nose, it's gone now for some reason. And I had a few sneezes. And then I've got my bowel issues. Actually, I had a bit of one just before recording this, which is weird. Just a feeling. Which is weird because I've already been twice, and then I went for a piss once, which is rare. Now it's asking me to go again, so I don't know what the deal with that is. That's the other thing, I've had to hold in so much shit because my body just tricks me. It just doesn't do what it's supposed to. And when I feel the need to use the toilet, I don't know whether it's gas or whether it's actually needing to go. And then when I test it, whenever I've sort of been sitting down here, sort of like do that, the old squeeze and open, but sometimes nothing happens, and I just think, okay, something's blocking the way, so I need to go. Then I go, and then nothing's there, and then it turns out it's just gas. It's really plays on my fucking nerves, and on top of the stress of living here, in this entire living situation, which, by the way, the doctors said directly, almost directly to the landlord, it would possibly have some long-lasting consequences if they kept me in this situation and left me stressed. And look where we are now. She was right. I'm getting quite severe sleep deprivation. It's bad enough that, again, I can only get like 4-hour nights sometimes. What do I even fucking say? Is this mishandling, mistreatment? What is it? I'm genuinely curious of what the fuck is it even considered as. But I'm sick and tired. That much is obvious. I literally want this shit to be over and done with. I want to be dealt with properly, like a normal human being. And I need proper treatment. But I just don't know. It's just so frustrating to me. I'll try and stop recording as soon as I can, just to end ocean fishing, so yeah, let's move on. I had some interesting news recently. I think might be worth saying, but I don't know. I'm not saying the contents, it's just to be clear. It's good news for someone else, but it did make me realise that no matter how hard I try, I'm just not going to fucking reach that point, am I? It's kind of depressing in a way. Of course I'm happy, but it's not, comfort. I'm not comfortable with the idea of my current living situation, and even then, it's just hellish to live like this. And you've got people out there being this happy, and it's like, how the fuck is this even fair? I don't get it. It just never makes sense to me. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this situation exactly, because I don't have money. I don't have good mental health. Like, what the fuck? This is the thing with injustices as well. You've got families that need, let's say, a bigger home. You've got disabled people like me who need proper housing. So, yeah, literally, it's very specific stuff, very niche, and a cult like Nigel Farage is just going to take that away from me, take what I have away from me, rather, because he decided that disabled people don't deserve rights. Oh, right. I guess that fucks over his pension then. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. That happens to him. But I just don't get how I'm supposed to survive in this world. One of my upcoming tracks, which I'm going to bring up, is pretty much based around my mental health struggles. It's one of the darkest and heaviest songs I've probably written yet. And even though it sort of rolls around my own mental health, it's very much describing every aspect of it. You get this idea of a hellish, mindset, mindscape, whatever you call it. That's pretty much all my life is at this point. It was pretty much devoid of most joys, and even then, the joys that I can get are not really granted to me because I don't have the money, as I said. I don't have the living situation. And even more worse is some of the problems in my mental health get in the way. So even though there are some joys and those, it's like I can't address it properly. So it just gets really bad. I don't really know the best way to address it because I seem to be really fucked here. really don't have a way around this. It just feels like I'm trapped once again. As if I haven't already been trapped, but it feels even worse with just the successes you hear about people you know having obviously more success. It's not really about other things that were bothering me before, like relationships. But yeah, I genuinely just the state of the world as it is, and my issues currently plaguing me. It gets really difficult when even then I'm looking at messages I've sent to the landlord, and I'm asking about what can be done. I found like a dead tiny millipede on the floor the other day. I didn't even realise it was there. Just like mopped it with my foot briefly, obviously with sock on, and I thought, oh, that seems too solid to be a bit of dust, and it turns out it's a fucking millipede. It's like, how the hell did that get here? I don't even have a bug problem. This one I could tell. It's not hairs under there. Well, I'll go look under my bed at some point. That's a bit worrying. Yeah, there's also other problems. Like I still hear noise every now and then, not through the door as much. It's less through the door. Thanks to these headphones as well, I block out quite well, even without noise cancelling. There's also my bathroom door that causes noises and causes smell as well. Because it's a fucking fold door. For some really stupid reason, for a bathroom door, decided on a fold door that doesn't even close. Oh, what? Am I missing something? Is that not a smart idea? And there are other decisions as well that just don't make sense or almost funny. The sink is rectangular and takes up about 60 to 70 centimetres, I'd say, of space. Hang on, what's the size of the keyboard? So it's about 55 centimetres, I'd say, wide, which is absurd. You do not need a sink that big. That is just no. And then the toilet is in a stupid place because I can't really reach myself without twisting, which is also really uncomfortable and takes the breath out of me. But it's just so ridiculous. And then I keep getting prompted about whether I'd have a shower in my bathroom. I'm like, no. Because I don't feel comfortable in showers. It's never been a thing I've liked. Ever since I was a kid and I tried one, I've hated them. Even then, even with the problems addressed with it, mainly the slipping aspect, which I don't like at all, it still isn't good enough. It just doesn't do what I want it to. So that needs to be addressed, for sure. And obviously the only way to do it is probably a bathtub with a fucking shower on it. Let's just go without saying. I don't really understand why it's so hard to grasp as well. Especially with the amount of bathtubs you have nowadays. I've looked them up. The sizes are not an issue. I'm pretty sure I saw one that was 1.2 metres, which is just enough space. Even if it's small, it's enough. I'll be happy with that, as long as it's tall. And you've also got those with quite open outwards look, and they seem a bit better because they have the space, although you get annoyingly like spiders and stuff around it, which is kind of hellish. I hope there's a way to cover that up so it doesn't happen. But also you need to be able to cork a size, actually, now I think about it, so maybe not a good idea. Or cork, apparently there's something else for it. I don't know what the name is. But yes, I can't be comfortable in a shower. It's pretty much impossible. I've tried multiple times and failed. So, yeah, and what's the other thing? Still waiting for the toilet. Trying to think, well, so I probably do need like an aircon at some point, a proper one. Not this bloody portable aircon which I've had for 4 years now, and for some reason, after about 5 months or so of having it, it stopped working properly. it works, but it doesn't work properly. It doesn't cool like it used to. There's nothing in the coolant. I mean, the drainage, not the coolant. Coolant would be a problem. But I can't tell if there is anything in the coolant because there's no instructions on it. There's no fucking way to check it, so I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. Well, is there maintenance for it? Because I don't have the manual anymore. That's long gone. Yeah, as I said, it's just stupid. I can't fucking believe it sometimes. The amount of bullshit I have to go through in this life is just, it's ridiculous. This again is why good news for people I know can end up having a sort of, well, almost devastating effect. Because the reality is I'm not going to have that level of success. I'm not going to be happy in life without the necessities, and that's the thing I have to point to. It's the necessities, not living life as if you're rich. It's to do with necessities. It's a completely different thing to, well, being rich or being successful, whatever it is. That's the big distinction there. So I don't really understand where people might get the idea that, I don't know, maybe I'm jealous about this, or maybe I'm just desiring money even though I don't really have that in me. I don't desire money at all. It's pretty much a cancer on society, and to be honest, I could just give up everything and live happily in like a quiet village and even without electricity, as long as there's books, as long as there's art stuff, as long as there's whatever. It really depends. Would certainly miss aspects of my life, but there would be benefits to it, obviously. And assuming I can live out there with a partner or someone I could meet, potentially, it'd be even better. Because you can enjoy life together. But no, seems like I'm not really allowed that. And somehow I have to address like my health problems and mental health in that state as well. So again, it gets real complicated. So even the ideal situations don't really work out in the end, because yeah, people suck and things suck. Trying to think. I don't know what to do anymore. That's really the gist of it. But again, interesting news becoming sad news about my life, and yeah, with everything I have, autism, ulcerative colitis / Crohn's, that's it. And OCD, social anxiety and panic disorder, I'm just unable to function, because also, with enough, I haven't even said anything about the news, and I struggle to say it. It's like I feel fucking awkward. I struggle with talking to not just like people I know, but strangers. Yeah, I could do it in person somewhat well, but that's only because I'm just sort of forced to do it to survive, essentially. Whereas people would just get really suspicious, and here it's like I have a choice, but I don't really feel like I have a choice. It's like free will doesn't exist in this state. I have nice things to say, but it just doesn't come out. I've even struggled with even just little social interactions like hugging and also saying things like I love you. That's always been a struggle for me. It's not just exclusive to adult life, but even then, the more traumatized and run down I get, the harder it becomes. Essentially, this is like the final stage of autistic burnout, I think. But this also leads to the other concerning things, like if the average person doesn't even recognise anything in me that could be successful or worthwhile, then what's the fucking point in living? Even though I'm not really seeking to do that in life, although I'm more seeking to help others and entertain others, hence music, artwork, writing, it still bothers me that I just don't have anything to show for it. There's literally nothing. I feel useless, and it almost feels as though I'd be better off dead. It genuinely feels like that, because I don't know any other way around it. I don't know what the fuck I can do, and this is the thing with something like Reform in the UK, where I've had to fight for my rights by, say, picking the Green Party here and helping them. Also spreading the word about the Green Party, but Reform seeks to remove, again, disability rights, and so, like, do I just die with what they do, or die with, like, myself right here and now? I keep coming back to the suicidal thoughts because they not really interest me, but they do speak truth, and that's the big thing here. And that's something when you know there's a serious problem on your hands. If you're in a situation that you cannot get addressed properly with the correct needs met, then I'm obviously not being taken seriously, and people are just treating me as if I'm a joke. Which again, that's what my song is about. It's quite heavy. It's called Vessel for a Cruel Joke because I can't really think of a better name. But it's interesting. But again, it sucks because I cannot do anything. It's not like I'm going to suddenly become a soundtrack composer, say, tomorrow or even in a week or a month or even a year's time. I somehow don't see that happening. It seems like it's a very rare thing to do or have happen. So I literally don't know. It's literally my answer in response to this. I don't even know how to feel about the good news because it's also overwhelming. Because I start to think, I see these nice things these people have, and I think, I'm not thinking I wish I could me either, I'm rather thinking, I'm not in a similar situation to this. Why am I not able to have this amount of good news in my life? And yeah, it really sucks. I don't really know what else to say. It just genuinely feels like the world is going to shit again, and yeah, I'm just stuck here, sadly. I don't really have anything else to add to this, so yeah, I think I'll stop this recording and then move on. So if I haven't already mentioned it, I don't follow the rules, I follow the rules of morality. So yeah, when there's any sort of place I'm visiting, really, it depends. Like, in real life I don't really have any examples. But in terms of online spaces and what rules they set out there, and also just legality in general, I don't follow those rules because I simply don't agree with them. There are reasons why they should be broken. And it comes down to the very simple aspect that, well, the world is shit, and you can't really justify the things that are happening to us from this. I do genuinely think it's a big problem. Because we're currently struggling a lot in the world as it is, and it doesn't help when obviously rules are out there that are keeping really corrupt and evil people in power to continue this shit. So you can see the problem here, and you start to see it if you haven't. You really see where things start to go wrong. Because billionaire power, it's obviously not kept in check. Yeah, so I don't even explain this. I'm trying to think. It's kind of weird to explain because if morality is, well, it's subjective, but it's not as subjective as you think. I hear people say this all the time. Morality is subjective, but that's only if you respect people's opinions. But over the years, I've come to not even like a lot of people's opinions on this because when it comes to morality, I do think it is objective. The more you essentially look down at it, the more you look at whatever it is, it tends to lead you there. So it's like, it's really weird to describe, I don't have the exact words to describe it, but the way I see it if you've experienced pain, if you experience empathy, you have a sense of morality. So immediately we're already similar. And then what you derive from it is simply based on what you pick and choose. And immediately this is the first part where it becomes immoral and dangerous, because if you don't favour obviously the truth or the evidence, you're probably committing something very heinous. So you're probably committing a crime. It's not like a legal crime, it's a moral crime. And this is obviously where I get to these points with something like animal rights, where people are just happy to compromise an animal's life for a tiny bit of taste pleasure, which is just sickening. And that's why I think all moral worldviews are pretty much the same thing, as long as you're basing it around pain and empathy. But if you're basing it around the aspect of, like, I think it's utilitarianism, if I'm not mistaken, I don't really follow that side of it, at least not as much anymore as I've used to. But, you know, say that utilitarianism, a lot of people who follow that morality or worldview will view things in a utility way, hence utilitarianism. So they'll like utilise things where they are. Like, oh, you're keeping this animal, they can produce milk. Well, we should have some milk as well, shouldn't we? But that's quite immoral, because humans make milk and we don't farm them. So there's a weird double standard. We also have dogs, we also have cats, they produce milk. Yeah, we don't farm them, so there's a hypocrisy there. So people can't actually justify it when they get right down deep into this. So naturally there's issues here. This is why I tend to say that I'm governed by the laws of morality, rather than, well, what is immorality in the other case. And yeah, I do find it pretty gross in all honesty, because once again, this is an animal's life we're talking about. An animal is not just simply a plant, it's not my desk here that's like inanimate, doesn't speak to me. It's not conscious, it's not sentient as far as I'm aware. Yeah, it's completely different, because animals have a stimulus and also memories and subjectivity. They have free will, which I think is also a very important aspect, because free will is also an interesting point to obviously keep them justifying. Yeah, there's even free will in those who are severely disabled. I've mentioned that because people know they'll bring it up, say like, what the fuck are you saying? Don't you realise there's a flaw in that? That certain disabled people don't have free will? They do. You're just not looking deep enough. It's frankly really stupid. I've seen like FFXIV videos and stuff, and some of the most disabled people, and I'm sorry to use this as an example because I love the channel, it is very good for advocating for disability rights, but from those I've seen on there who are quite severely disabled and obviously intellectually disabled, not sure if it's the correct term, so sorry, they very much have free will. They can choose the things that they do, they can obviously think and feel. Like, there's literally no difference here. So the argument that free will is obviously not an argument is just not an argument. It's just nonsense. So, yeah, when a plant has no free will, then I don't think there's really a reason not to utilise them. And yeah, it's just absolutely gross that people can justify animal abuse because they're vulnerable or they're exploitable, which is also where this comes from. But this is why I say I don't follow the rules of legality, because that's a legal thing, by the way, to not only farm animals but abuse them, to exploit them, and it's not even treated as a crime. So there's an injustice there, hence why I don't follow the rules of legality. And I've obviously replaced it over the years, and I've thought long and hard about this, about how to replace it with morality. And to be clear on this as well, it even extends as far as the parts where I can be corrupted. I even have my own rules of morality there. it's not like I can't justify these things, it's just, in reality, these things are viewed as immoral, so I have to address it as such. That's pretty much the gist of it. Yeah, there isn't anything else to really say on it. So it is important that we take this into account. Again, I hope other people follow the rules of morality rather than legality, because believe it or not, you also have the freedom to pretty much do other things. So you're not obviously restricted to, like, the legal aspects. If you're like poor, for example, you could definitely do things that are maybe not so safe in the eyes of corporations or law, but even then, as long as it's not harming, the average person, where obviously the bad people, the monsters, like billionaires, and also the greedy people, the ones who commit crime, like literally just crimes as in that harms people, it's pretty much justified. I think you are allowed to do whatever's necessary to survive in that situation. And I've often argued that since learning about this like quite a few years ago, I used to be quite cynical, I guess, at the time, about entertainment as a necessity, and that came in the terms of, like, for example, Genshin Impact. There's a lot of gacha videos and stuff, people rolling for stuff, and one of the arguments that really got me thinking was how, I don't know when it was like a space launch, but they're talking about, was it a space launch? I think they were actually. It's like spending millions of dollars on a space launch and people having mixed reactions to it, like, why are we putting taxpayer money on this? And then there was someone out there who said, you know what, this is great, this is what humanity looks for. It's like a form of entertainment or documentary, something like that. Probably butchering the actual explanation. But it's a very convincing argument, and it made me realise that entertainment as a moral view is somewhat necessary. It's just that we have the limitation where pain equals bad, and that's where it's different. But, something like that, which is harder to find, especially finding pain, because obviously no matter where you distribute money, someone else is going to suffer for not having it. It's kind of justified in a way, and sort of calmed down my stance and that sort of thing. I will still dislike gacha videos because I don't like them, but in a way it sort of has a place to exist. And yeah, when I was getting sad about FFXIV not even getting the views they deserve, and trying to think, like, why are these Genshin Impact videos getting more views than these, when these are far more important? And I think it is literally a case where entertainment is itself a sort of tool that can help you cope. So yeah, that's why morality rules, essentially. Just trying to think, is there anything else? I'm pretty sure I missed something. It's a bit weird, but yeah. I just think morality rules, really. It's kind of cool. The more I think about it, and it also just helps me shape the sort of world that we're in, and what I want to see in the world. Like, be the change that you want to see. It's literally what it comes down to. So yeah, it's just hard to say. But anyway, I think I better move on because I've pretty much discussed this as much as I can. So yeah. Actually, there is another thing to put over this actually, because there's a short that reminded me of a YouTube short. There's some body cam footage of a police officer walking up to a guy who was just lighting candles whilst on a bench, like doing no harm at all. And apparently that's a crime, according to the officer. But just sitting here thinking, like, what the fuck is your problem? Why are you doing this anyway? The guy's alone, not harming anyone. So why is it even fucking matter whether it's against the law or not? It's even out of the way. They said that it's an authorised area. What the fuck is an authorised area then? What is this stupid ass rule? But anyway, apparently the guy was lighting candles, grieving for a dead friend. It's like, holy crap. And these officers were essentially trying to extort him. It's so fucking dangerous when you let the role of legality control everything. And in this case, obviously, it's even more dangerous because people get really fucking screwed over. And it's just, it really annoys me, obviously. The more I see this, the more I think, what the fuck is the world coming to? Again and again. And yeah, I just wish there was like justice for like the guy in the video grieving for his friend. It really needs to be justice served because, you know, police officers shouldn't be able to get away with this, and also I think you should be able to like sue, because that's just like a really tone deaf thing to do, and also, you know, shouldn't even be going up to random people who are alone doing nothing wrong. That just goes without saying. See, it's just frankly absurd. I don't really understand the logic. Whatever these officers are doing or going through, it's just, it fucks over everything. It obviously doesn't do the world good because it's kind of making us struggle. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. Let's move on. I think I'll make an outro for the podcast as well. Get everything done before Final Fantasy 7.5, which is exactly tomorrow. Yeah, thanks for listening. See you next time. If there is next time.